Today on the Self Smarter podcast.
What do heroes do? And and that's a question I always ask when I teach writing. What do heroes do? Heroes show up to their life.
Yes.
Right? Heroes participate in their life.
Mm-hmm.
They don't avoid tough conversations.
Or challenges.
They face them. So it's always sort of like, what would a hero do?
Hi, we're Dan'l and Megan, the hosts of this conversation-centric podcast for leaders seeking to be better every day. Whether you choose to be a leader in the workplace, at home, or in your community, we believe the most effective leaders are equipped to not only be self-starters, but self-smarter. Hello, and welcome to the Self Smarter podcast. I'm Dan'l, and I am returning for part 2 of a series with my good friend, Adrea Peters. Welcome back, Adrea.
Thank you.
Well, not back. We've been here, but we've extended. So hopefully if you've listened to the previous episode with Adrea, we had so much to talk about that we decided to put this into 2 episodes. So please tune in to the first episode where we talk about this amazing woman and her gift and just incredible journey through her professional and artistry career and life. And so today what I want us, or in this episode, what I'd like for us to do is to really talk about your art and your gift of writing and the different types of writing that you do, because I think it's super important for our listeners, because it is part of your self-smarter journey, is the fact that you do have this very specific professional career that's in, enterprise architect, focusing on healthcare information systems. Mm-hmm. That's a very specific part of a brain and a person that can do that type of work. Meanwhile, all the while, you've had this obsession and drive towards, again, a very specific type of art, writing novels. And I don't know what you classify the other books as, but
personal growth, I guess.
Personal growth.
Yeah.
And so to me, I still find it, and I've been your friend for 20 years, as we talked about on the first episode, I still find myself in awe and fascination that you can do both.
Yeah.
Now, I have a daughter that does art for a living, but I still see her in that realm, and I see me over here in this realm, and to be alongside you for the last 20 years and to watch you work in both of those spaces has been an inspiration for me, and just something that I'm getting front row to watch this incredible thing unfold. So what I really want to do is maybe have you introduce the art part of your self-smarter journey.
You guys, I was recently at a cocktail hour when the subject of websites came up, and do you know what someone asked me? They asked me if websites even matter. I'm here to tell you the short answer is a yes. And here's the great news. Nowadays, you can get a fully custom website from DMA around $10,000 to $12,000. That's right. We've unlocked the ingredient to getting businesses the custom style and functionality that they need for a very reasonable investment. Email us at info@dma-solutions.com and we'll get your website moving forward for 2023.
Okay. Well, that was very kind
welcome
of you.
back.
Oh, you're such a sweetheart. Thank you so much. What an intro. Wow. We talked earlier about getting rejected a lot. Mm-hmm. And I took that to heart. Like I'm coachable. Right. So I'm not doing it right, coach. Okay. Let me learn the mechanics of how to do it right. Mm-hmm. I'm very interested in how things work and how to make them better. Yeah. Like I was telling you, when Sweet Pea needed somebody to throw the ball, I didn't know how to throw a ball. And so I bought a book on the physics of throwing a ball.
Literally, you didn't know how to throw a ball. You're an athlete.
I did,
you know how to hit a ball because you're a volleyball player.
Yes. But I didn't know how to really throw a ball like a boy, from
or like
from
a girl
outfield,
who knows how to throw a ball.
Yeah, outfield to the pitcher, or that's pushing it, but to second base. Yeah.
So you want to be the best ball thrower for your dog. Yeah. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
And you did.
So I bought a book on the physics of throwing a ball. I didn't know that existed. Yeah. Follow through, turbulence, right? What kind of ball, what kind of wind, all of that stuff factors in. What do you take steps before? Do you stand still? All those things. I learned all the mechanics of it and learned how to now I can really throw a ball. And it's impressive. I'm impressed.
Yeah. I can roll that thing.
Yeah, it works. And I actually put that in the Truett Sky in my fiction because it was like, this little girl is totally fascinated by how things work, physics. So I definitely was pulling from my own, like we always do when we write. And for me, I needed a way to express the emotions and the things that I felt. I'm somebody who does feel very deeply, but didn't have an emotional vocabulary or a way to share those things except for sort of outbursts.
Sure.
Whether they be of happiness or anger or whatever. Like I was limited.
Right. And Brene Brown, like, you know about Atlas of the Heart. I mean, she did research and she had all these data points that were, I don't know how many years it was, 10 years of data in doing her work that said, and basically she would always ask the same question, what emotions can you name? And it was sad, happy, and anger or mad.
Yeah.
And that was it. So,
right.
And all the emotions that exist. And so her book, Atlas of the Heart, talks about at least 87 of them. That's the ones that they chose to elevate. And we're only able to articulate 3 on average.
Right.
And I mean, it was an insane amount of numbers. And so you knew that about yourself.
Yep.
And you found that without that, you were not going to be able to see yourself forward the way that you wanted to carry forth in your life.
Yeah. And for me, I always was able to express myself in writing. My dad said, we could just set you down as a little kid, a toddler with pen and paper, and you would just write your name, right. You were always, that was what you did.
You've always been a writer.
Yeah, I guess.
But you didn't see yourself necessarily in that light.
And I definitely didn't see myself as an artist. That took a long time for me to feel like this is my art.
And you said something in the previous episode that I want to call to your attention because I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but when you were talking about doing this, you're in these work environments and that you finally had the confidence to come out as an artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that stood out to me because I was like, wow, she hid that.
I hid it.
She was not, I don't know if it was a matter of pride or a matter of fear or what it is, because when you say you're an artist, they're going to want to know, well, show me your art.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. And are you on Amazon? Which I can proudly now say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And Barnes and Noble.
Yes. Exactly.
And Walmart.
Yes.
And Target.
So it's interesting. So, okay. So as an artist, you didn't see yourself that way.
No, but I wrote and I wanted to write stories and I for me, and for anyone, I think we possess traits. We kind of talked about this a little bit, and something that the listeners can do for themselves to think about the traits that they possess. They're not characteristics. So characteristics are things like the eye color or how you dress or etc. But traits are these things about you, the ideal way that you see yourself.
Okay.
So for me, I have impeccability as a trait. I have honesty as a trait. I have humor or laughter as an ideal trait. When I'm in my ideal space, I am honest and I'm impeccable with what I put in my body, with how I use my language, with how I treat others, with how my house looks. Like those are my ideal space, and they make me so happy and fulfilled. And on the other side of the continuum of anything is in polarity. This is a planet of polarity. Like we have a North Pole and a South Pole. So don't think we're not just like nature. We internally also emotionally have a North Pole and a South Pole in these traits.
So, for example, a trait.
So, for example, the trait of impeccability, then that's its North Pole or its North Star. Right? Its South Pole would be whatever it is to me, my opposite of that, which would be laziness, or when it comes to honesty, it'd be lying or deceit.
Sure.
For me, laughter, it's really meanness. That's the opposite. That's the opposite. So I don't call those bad traits or the opposite. I do call them the opposite, but really they're your breakthrough. So when you are having breakthrough moments in your life, you are in that space. So if I'm having times where I'm really lazy, I'm breaking through to become more, to become better. Right. So we talked about a trait of yours.
Helpfulness.
Yes, right. And generosity, right?
Generosity, that's right. Yeah.
Generosity.
Well, they're both, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So and what was your breakthrough?
My breakthrough, selfishness.
Yeah, selfishness. So when you're being and sort of hoarding your own time to yourself, you're breaking through something. So it's not a bad thing.
Right.
It's that this is me when I'm trying to learn and grow, and to really honoring that.
So my North Star is generosity.
Yes.
And then when I'm breaking through, my South Pole or whatever you would call it, it would be selfishness, but I have to be able to use that and know and being aware in it. And as our listeners know, I'm going through this, season of life and transition. I've had to tap into selfishness as it relates to my time and where I am as I deal, as I fully try to embrace this next chapter of my life. But I didn't realize that for a while. And and I was not using my traits. Is that what you would say?
And if you're not honoring it and you're calling yourself a bad person and that you're
the negative talk. Yes.
Then you're going to stay in there. You're going to stay in that cesspool.
Okay.
And when we get kind of into the steps of the story, like your life is this journey between these traits at all times.
Mm-hmm.
They're always popping up.
Right.
And how they really show up is something we talked about in the last episode a little bit, are these themes of our themes in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
These rules that we have about what it means to be me,
mm-hmm.
and the rules you have for what it means to be you. And sometimes they're inherited.
Sure.
And a lot of times they're inherited, as a matter of fact. And
okay.
So a character, and I started to just take. So I was learning all these things because they're what characters have.
So you were using this to write your fiction books.
But I was realizing how much it was applying to me.
Oh, okay.
And so Ann Jeanette, my agent, we felt like we were we talked about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's amazing how whatever we're going through as writers,
mm-hmm. we're
putting out on the page, whether it gets published or not,
mm-hmm.
or your art is the same thing if you're a painter or a dancer or an actress, like whatever role I would think that Mackie Payton might be playing,
mm-hmm.
It's a match to where she is in her journey,
mm-hmm.
so that she can grow and become more.
Absolutely.
Right? And any story has a character wanting something but not having it. And the journey is their journey to having what they want.
Okay.
Right? So it's just from I want it, I see it, I imagine it, I envision it. Girl sees boy across the hallway.
Sure.
And love sparks.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants him. And so now we're going to go through the ride on this romantic comedy of them coming together, breaking apart, coming together, breaking apart.
Mm-hmm.
And right. And then eventually getting together, because that's how story works. It's this vacillation between your ideal trait and your breakthrough trait.
Okay. I love it. I love it so much. So before we get in, I really want to focus in, because it just makes the most sense for our listeners and relative to our audience here for the podcast, is I said this in the first episode with Adrea, is that her take on storytelling is unlike anything I've seen before. And again, I'm a student of storytelling as a successful marketer as it relates to selling things,
mm-hmm.
The marketing side of it. But your storytelling, like you said, you were learning how to do story because you wanted to be a better writer.
Yeah.
But then you found an application for story as it relates to us as individuals. And when we are living in awareness of our stories and we're able to apply some of this, we're going to progress professionally and personally.
Yep.
Because the process or the skill of doing this and the practice of doing this will help you live in more awareness.
Yeah.
Really.
Right. And understand that stories come true, like dreams come true. Whatever you're after comes true. But the thing about it is that you have to follow all the steps of the story for.
Okay.
Just so what I noticed was, well, what happened was I got rejected, not on my dialogue, not on my character development, had all that shit down.
Yeah.
But I did not understand the story structure.
Ah.
So I kept.
It was the organization.
I wasn't telling a complete story.
Okay.
I wasn't able to go. Now I know deep and dark enough.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's light, you still have to go there.
Okay.
Because that's how life works. The hero has to get to that final battle and have it out, whatever
mm-hmm.
that might mean. Confess,
mm-hmm.
or and say, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can make it up the mountain.
Okay.
And then ask somebody to help them up the mountain, or whatever that might be. And
mm-hmm.
once they accept the help,
mm-hmm.
and then they're all in. They're committed, because we are human beings and we must be in relationship.
Right.
That is what it means to be a human. Even if you're a complete solo, you know how much of a solo artist I am.
Yes, I do.
So I like my alone time.
Yes.
But we need others
mm-hmm.
to help us
mm-hmm.
become more. It's a requirement. And that was hard for me because I like doing stuff on my own.
Right.
So that was a life lesson I was learning. Of course I was learning it. If I didn't learn that, I wouldn't be so passionate about story. I wouldn't realize, oh my God, most people don't accept help. Right. I got it. I'm fine. I don't need anything. Right. But we all need help.
Right.
We all need help to achieve our dreams.
And what's interesting is that I would never think that story would be one of those things that would help in that light.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because you can't break it. So me, like I tested the steps of story. Should we do the steps of story?
Yeah, I'd like to do it. First of all, let's introduce the book.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's the book.
Yes. And we'll have this and we'll share it all, but the science of story, mastering your nature.
Yes.
Okay.
So I use a lot of science in there, as it implies in the title, and nature. That nature is not an exclusive, elusive thing. Nature includes everything. A tree doesn't say, "Hey, get off me, leaf." Like you're taking up too much space. Yeah. Oh, what leaves? I don't see any leaves on me. Yes. Right? Like, but we humans, we do anything and everything we can to avoid ourselves and to avoid our truths and to look outside. We're always looking for outside, not looking for inside.
So true.
Right?
So true.
Yeah.
And we're really good at it.
Yeah.
7's on the Enneagram.
I am a professional.
Yes.
And so I always look to nature for answers, definitely. And I know I'm going a little off track, but if you look at the cycles of nature, they are also the cycles of story. So what happened was when I didn't, the steps of story are not mine. No. They've been around since they're the way that human beings communicate. Aristotle, poetics is probably the first written, but cavemen wrote them in pictographs on caves. Like this isn't some invention that I made. It's always the same. I've never been able to break it. People all the time tell me, no, that's not how it works. And I say, I challenge you.
Yes.
Keep going. Keep going. I've tested it for decades. And really it's that these are the 7 steps as I call them.
Okay.
There's all sorts of, the most famous is, the hero's journey. So these are kind of based on the same concepts of that.
Okay.
This is just my take on it. So you have an idea. All stories start with an idea, a dream, a thought, a vision of a future self or future dream, right? So you have a dream. And then the immediate thing that we do is try to ground it into our today. I want to be a writer. How am I going to be a writer when I'm a computer geek?
Yes.
Right? Like that doesn't make any sense. Or I want to be married and I live in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
Well, like whatever those things are, we try to ground it in our reality. Step 2 is grounding it. And we can't reconcile it. So we're like, forget it. Never mind. No way, Right. But every now and again, those dreams that really matter to us. And if we're really in tune with ourselves, we know the ones that are really important.
Okay. And so dreams, when you say dreams, that can sound like something really big, but this could be a manifestation for a promotion.
Totally.
And so it could for our listeners, it could be, you want to be a better leader.
Exactly. I want to make the baseball team.
Yeah. So it applies to so many different things, not just like big dreams.
Right.
Like
I want to learn how to make
now.
spaghetti sauce. I mean, it's anything.
I want to learn how to throw a ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's just a moment. It's a blip. It's an idea.
Okay.
Right.
So everyone, I just wanted to make sure that our listeners understood that when she says dreams, it's what do you want to accomplish almost? Yeah. And so when you can apply these steps of story, then you're going to be able to emotionally and visually manifest that in potentially.
Yes. So you have this idea, you try to ground it, you can't reconcile it. So you say, my language is no way, no how. Like there's just no way this is going to happen. No way.
And is that part of step 2?
That's step 2 because what we try to do is how it. We try to, we try to like I have this dream. How am I going to make it? You don't have to do anything yet. Just let the story happen. Right. So then what happens? Step 3 is the sign. I call the sign also in stories referred to as an inciting incident. Something will happen related to that dream that there is no turning back. I throw the ball into the ground. It goes 2 feet for the 50th time. This is not working, Yes. Sweet Pea's like not even looking at me anymore.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Or, or say it's the promotion story. Somebody quits. That job's open now.
Okay. So we call that a lane opens.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Exactly. So it'd be the same thing.
Mhm.
Lane opens. There's no going back. There's no going back.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you can't sabotage yourself. Of course you can.
Of course. Always.
Yeah.
That's always on the table.
Yeah. But if you continue on, so inciting incident happens. And then what happens is we naturally sort of what I call resist to persist. This is the middle of the story. This is where you might be for a lifetime. You may never get out of resist, persist, right?
Mhm.
Because it's really, what happens is it's sort of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
Mhm.
You look online, you look at the promotion, you see things, oh, I'm not qualified there, I don't think I could do that. Self-talk. But then somebody says, oh, no, that's okay. I don't think they're looking for that much. That's not that important. I think you should still apply. You try to apply, but your computer blows up. So you're not able to, like it's this, all the crap that happens.
That keeps you.
That is leading you to quitting.
Okay. You're right.
And giving up.
Okay.
Because a lot of things, let's face it, we all have a lot of ideas. We don't capitalize on all of them.
No.
So the ones that really matter to us, we will keep going.
Mhm.
We will continue on
Mm-hmm.
persisting and resisting.
Okay.
And we get in our own way,
Mm-hmm.
but we are learning. We're just getting stronger and stronger and stronger until we get to a point where we can't take it anymore on our own.
Okay.
Right. And this is where the crucial and most important step, in my opinion, of story happens, which is when help arrives. In the classic, it's the mentor, Harry Potter meets whatever
I don't
Dumbledore.
know.
Yeah. Like Luke Skywalker gets the training that he needs from Yoda. Like,
Sure.
It's the teacher arrives.
Okay.
And sometimes it's negative and sometimes it's positive. So
Okay.
sometimes it could be that something bad happens or, somebody's really snarky to you and you just lose it,
Mm-hmm.
so that was the help that you needed to get over yourself to move forward and
Yep.
apply for that position or whatever it might be.
Might be. Yeah.
But a lot of times it is genuine help that
Mhm.
you really do need.
Mm-hmm.
It can often be a friend, a mentor, a counselor.
I was going to say, could it be a therapist? Because we
It's
know that
100%.
my help has arrived.
And you know what? Sometimes you're the help that arrives.
Mhm.
And sometimes I'm the help that arrives.
Mhm.
I can think of a conversation that you and I've had where I was the help that arrived that you needed that day.
100%. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you just, you don't know. It
You
just
don't.
happens but there's something inside of you. And this is why it's so important to be in touch with
Mhm.
our emotions, that that it's that phone call I made to my friend Michelle that I was never going to make it as a writer. Little did we know that I had already made it.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
But had I not had that confession, who knows how I might have sabotaged myself.
Mm-hmm.
I might have quit before, and Jeanette would have just said, well, we had a deal, and I would have said, I don't care, I quit.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Right.
But by having that confession, letting someone help, letting someone say.
So confession, talk to me about that, because that's an interesting word.
So when you have that.
Quitting feeling?
Yeah, when you have the help that arrives gives you this opportunity to confess what you've wanted all along.
Oh, so it's a confession towards what you do want.
What you do want.
Okay.
Because when we're resisting, we're like, no, I don't. I can make it without that promotion. It doesn't matter if I'm a writer. It's okay. I'm still a good person. I'm still happy.
Yeah.
The confession
I don't
is
need
saying,
Yeah.
all I've ever wanted in my entire life is to be a writer.
Wow.
And to let yourself cry. I could cry about it right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this moment that we have where
A reckoning.
a reckoning.
Mhm.
Yeah. And somebody's listening.
Yes.
Somebody has to be listening. It's not something you might do it on your own before. Like I've many times said to myself how much I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't use my voice to tell someone else.
Okay. So that's an important part
Yes.
of this process.
Exactly.
Okay.
Luke Skywalker, I don't think I can take down the Death Star.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm up to it.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
you can.
Totally.
Yes, you can. Yeah,
Okay.
you've got to have that moment. And then once you've done that and you've let it out and you've said your piece,
Mm-hmm.
you're committed. And when you have that commitment, there's no stopping you.
What
It's
is
done.
before commitment? What precedes?
Confession.
Okay, so it's confession. What's before confession?
Help arrives.
And then, because I like to go backwards. Resist. Okay.
Persist. Inciting incident or sign. Grounding it in your now. And the idea came.
The idea came. Okay. I think both ways. So I'm very visual.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it
so
is kind of circular.
it is,
because
it's circular. It's not linear.
It's not linear.
Okay.
So the second that the second I get that publishing deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now I actually have to write the
the
book.
book.
Yeah. Or, finish the book and get it published. So now a new story started. So
Okay.
now my next dream is, getting my book to my publisher to do it. Well, when will I do this? I don't have any time. I don't know. It's probably not even good enough. I can't believe she even signed me up. Oh, the blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, the book is due X date. That's the sign.
Okay. So that's the sign. Yes.
Right.
And then
You resist, you just keep going, oh, I can't get it done. You can just power through. You can get it done. Oh, should I ask for an extension? No, you can't have an extension. La, 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 la. Okay. Help that arrived is my agent.
Your agent.
Yeah. My agent saying, sit your ass down. Get it done.
The book.
Yeah. Get it done.
Get it done.
Right.
And then
I didn't think I could do
do
it.
it. Yes.
Yes. And then, of course, you could do it. I did it. I finished. I turned it in early. Then the next dream starts. I'm going to get the proof, right? It just
So
keeps going.
Commitment is the final.
Commitment
Commitment
is a requirement to that idea coming to fruition.
Okay. But by the time you reach the commitment part of the science of story, you've already gone through the steps that you need to go through, and the commitment's what carries you forward.
Yeah.
And
you're not vacillating in resistance to
Okay.
persist anymore because you voiced what you really wanted and how afraid you were you wouldn't get it.
Okay. So,
let go to break through.
Yeah, I like that. And so when you're talking about, and we talked about this earlier, when we kicked off this episode, we're talking about the traits.
Mm-hmm.
So how did the traits that we need to identify for ourselves, and then the north and south of each of those traits, how does that play into the science of story?
So the traits are what carry you forward. Your life journey is about going through those traits, are what kind of illuminate when you're doing something.
Okay. Right? And you need that through these steps because they're almost these anchors that help you say
who you are.
Who you are.
And what's going to hold you back.
Okay.
And I know that if I'm being lazy, then I'm not going to, then I'm thinking about something, I'm going to break through to something, but I'm not going to write a book in
laziness. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
I'm going to write a book when I'm taking care of myself, eating right. I'm making sure I've scheduled time to write. I'm making sure I've walked the dogs. I'm doing all the things that make Adrea happy. And make Adrea function at her best to deliver her best.
Okay,
yep.
Great. So you talk about the hero, and this kind of came out in that really important conversation that you and I had, and I thought it was a catch-up conversation. I mean, I think we were trying to catch up.
Yeah.
But then I ended up sharing some things with you, and we started talking about the hero. So the discipline of storytelling as it relates to marketing is the hero is always the audience. So you need to know their wants, needs, desires, challenges, etc. And that's where you start, is understanding that, and then the storytelling process is similar, but there's different words that describe it. And we subscribe to the Donald Miller's version of it, which is more about brand storytelling. And talk to me about the hero, though, as it relates to the science of story, the way you see the hero when we're working on it from a personal perspective, meaning if it's something, even though the story may be something about professional, it's still our personal stories that we're talking about here.
That's right. And seeing yourself as the hero of your life. I think you are the hero of your life. So we grow up with all these stories going on around us. We're watching television and we're watching these things, but we're not inserting ourselves in the story and saying, why am I different than that hero? You're not.
You're not.
Right? You're not.
You're right.
And so being able to connect to yourself and seeing yourself as the main character of your life and knowing how all the characters that are around you are characters in your story or in your world, it really frees you up to understand and almost see yourself a little bit outside yourself to say, what do heroes do?
Ooh, okay.
Right? What do heroes do? And and that's a question I always ask when I teach writing. What do heroes do? Heroes show up.
Okay.
To their life.
Yes.
Right? Heroes participate in their life. They don't avoid tough conversations.
Or challenges.
They face them. So it's always sort of like, what would a hero do? What would a hero do? And some of my clients in the past, what would Adrea do?
Yeah. That's what I would ask. Adrea, tell me what to do. And I love that about you. You're not one of those people that and I think we share that in common. I don't think we see ourselves as the type of teachers that says, here's the 10 things you need to do. Now, there's a process that you can follow, but you're also someone who says, I can't fix that for you.
Right.
I can give you tools, or I can give you my perspective, or I can tell you what I know to be true.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you have to be able to do it. And I know that that's your philosophy around storytelling.
Definitely.
Like you can give this framework. I don't know if that's how you refer to it, and you, the hero, still you can't put those words down on that piece of paper for me. You can help ask me questions that would lead me to that, but you're I think you hold firm on that notion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't ghostwrite for that reason either.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I noticed when I mentioned ghostwriting earlier, you kind of like looked the other way.
Did you pick up on that?
I just a little bit. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I think it's really important that everybody write their story. I think everybody should be writing their story all the time. I think you should. I do it all the time in my life where I pause and go, why am I so pissed off about that? Like, why am I resisting that? Right?
Like something someone said or whatever
doing
idea
or something, why am I so irritated by that person that has no part of my life? I mean, I might work with them, but why am I so bothered? Right. And typically it's
how do you use story to deal with that?
Well, typically it means that I have it in my own life. Like it's a reflection of me. It's a mirror to me. And it means that some trait that I have is being, for lack of a better term, triggered.
Okay.
Right. Somebody's doing something that I find not in alignment with the rules and traits that I possess. So we talked about a little bit. Themes are really important.
Okay.
So themes, like in a story, there's always a theme, like you matter, you're important, or we should never hurt children, or we do not break the law. These are like a detective mystery, right? Everybody should be held accountable and just. We should live in a just world. So these are these traits, these themes that we have for our lives. I have themes. We should never hurt children. Big one for me. Yeah. Which doesn't seem that weird. It's not, everybody might not have that, but of course what that means, this is what's important in a hero's life. If you're if you're reading a story, meaning of a hero in a book where the person has a theme that we should never hurt children, somebody's kid has to get hurt.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because that's how theme works.
Okay.
It's, again, that polarity that we talked about that's so important. So in my life as a child, of course, I had many hurts.
Right.
Because that's why it's so important to me. Our ghosts, the things that have happened to us in our past, whether they're ours or our families, those drive us to get to sort of emotional stasis, emotional equilibrium.
Okay.
Because they're pushing us. The more we have that bothers us, the more we strive to find a way to make peace with that stuff. And then when we don't, we act out in terms of alcoholism, overeating, getting a bad disease.
Getting sick.
Being a super angry person. Like if we avoid speaking out, depression. If we avoid speaking out about these themes that are just non-negotiables to us, like a man should not hit a woman, right? Like these, they're non-negotiable. They make you fervent with anger, with feeling, right? And what happens? We negotiate them. We absolutely, like, you should not tell a lie. Of course, have been with many liars.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Because it's really important to me. How do I evolve and grow as a person? I have to be around that opposite. I have to negotiate myself and what I believe in order to know what I will not negotiate anymore.
Oh, wow. That's so powerful. And so that helps shape any story, whether it's on a small scale of, hey, I want to get a promotion, or for me, if I would have been practicing this particular time when I was planning for the succession of the company, that would have been one story, and I could have used this to kind of also, besides the obvious of planning for the business piece of it, I could have used the science of story to help me potentially walk through what I was after that might have helped me understand through that process that I was going to have time on my hands. Because our listeners know that was one of the that was the thing that I missed in Succession is I did not spend a minute thinking about what the hell was I going to do with time on my hands, which was part of this journey to the bottom. And, I talked about you and I live big. We're going to fall big as well. And when I found myself, I want to be very sensitive to the fact that I don't consider the fact that I found myself in a depressive state and needing to ask for help as a bad thing. In fact, I find it now to be, it's going to end up being one of the greatest gifts in my life.
That's what heroes do.
Right. Hold on. Okay. It's interesting to see yourself. And I think I'm going to have to wrestle with that to see myself as a hero. In many ways, I can see that, but it's all also relative to business. But now I'm in this personal journey. And so I can see now how I could use this story, which is why I was wanting to do a special episode on it, to help in my personal, that part was professional, but meaning my personal, meaning all the things I'm trying to accomplish, that I say openly on episode 34 that these were good things that were happening to me, but I didn't have a way to understand what the other side could potentially look like. So when I say that, I would ask you this question: when you were writing this book, who were the people that anybody, because of the nature of it, but who can benefit from this book and really how to use it on the regular, the teaching inside of it?
Anybody that's interested in becoming the best version of themselves.
That's okay. I thought that was the answer. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah,
definitely. And the book is, as science is, all about inclusivity versus exclusivity.
Okay.
I think it's the most important thing you can do to include all of you in everything that you do, unapologetically. Yes. All the flaws, all the good, all the bad, it's all made you who you are, or made me who I am. And to not feel less than or wrong or any of those things, because to me, no one's ever wrong. They're doing what they're doing. And there's no, everything. I remember Katie Byron.
Oh, love Katie Byron.
Saying, what are you doing right now? That's the purpose of your life.
Whoa. Yes.
Right? Like whatever you're doing is the most important thing. And whatever is happening right now is the truth of that moment. And maybe you're cheating. Maybe you're robbing a bank. But that's what you're doing right then. That's the truth of it.
You're going to deal with the consequences.
And that's the purpose of your life in that moment.
Wow.
And then what's next? Now that's the purpose. Now that's the purpose. So people are chasing this elusive life purpose. Life purpose is life. Living.
Yeah. And so being in the moment and being present is ever more critical.
Right. And understanding what makes you tick and how you got there.
Right.
Right. And why you think the way you do. Like I'm totally fascinated, as I've told you, like why people do what they do is endless fodder to me.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, nothing makes me more interested than what people do and why they do it.
Right.
And people just don't question themselves enough, I don't think. Like they don't sort of pause and say, why am I mad about that? Or why am I hurt by that? Or why do I feel? How do I feel right now?
Right.
And then stick in there for long enough without looking at your phone to see how you feel and go from there. Do I like how I feel? Oh, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. I don't like how I feel. How can I pivot? How can I make a difference? How can I change what's going on to make it better? Because, I think the whole purpose of life is to feel good, have a good time, laugh a lot. Yeah. It's nothing serious. It's not that serious. No, it feels serious from time to time.
Yeah. And you've dealt with some serious stuff, and you mentioned
very serious
stuff.
Yep.
And at the same time, it's walking through that and being able to recover from that and own it.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've talked about, you owning the fact that you were an artist and you kind of kept that to yourself. And, I had to decide, am I going to talk about my depression and am I going to talk about the struggles that I've gone through? Because they were such beautiful things I was struggling with. They weren't these acute traumatic, if you're going to, you shouldn't compare trauma ever. but at the same time, it was mine.
Right.
And it all added up together. And then that's why I decided to share it, is because it was these everyday things that actually ended up tripping me up. I mean, I shouldn't say every day, but it wasn't these obvious things that should trip me up. You know, we did deal with the death of Shelby, but I wasn't dealing with these things that are easy for me to compare. Like, why should I complain about that? You know, my daughter graduating college, like why? But it was all the things. And so when you do decide to talk about it and to have a resource, and what I want our listeners to know about your book is it's the teachings in there, but it's almost like it's a handbook.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a supplement handbook as well, but the book itself is meant for you to, it's an exercise.
It's definitely, there's questions and there's ways that you can get to know yourself. That's really what it's about.
Right.
You know, getting to know yourself and we all hit points in our life where we say, who am I now?
Yeah.
Amen
to that.
Yeah. And knowing who you are doesn't really change over time. You're just evolving to new experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're applying who you are to the season of life that you're in.
Yes. This is what serves me now.
Right.
But a lot of people just don't do the work. You know, they just turn their back to it. They're not, they don't feel worthy enough to invest in themselves. For me, what I wish for everyone is that they fall madly in love with themselves and find themselves infinitely interesting.
Wow.
Because you're who you're stuck with.
Yeah.
Right? Right. And so
absolutely
finding yourself interesting and remembering to dream and have ideas that you want to see come to fruition. Many people don't dream anymore.
Yes.
Many people don't let themselves have an idea for their future.
And that's what the Science of Story, that was part of the intention of you writing, is to give people a way to really sit in that thinking.
Yeah.
And to learn how to dream again and see their life and see themselves as the hero.
That's right.
And see themselves facing different, whatever it may be, the long term or short term, but the stories of your life and you being the hero.
Right. And whatever journey you want to be on.
Right. You
want to sing, you want to be a healthy eater, you want to, meet the person that you're going to love forever, like whatever. Like these are all, they're so important. And we have a tendency to minimize what we want. That breaks my heart.
Yes.
Right? Like, don't do that, guys.
And I think too, it's like we sign up with these prescriptive, what we think I should say this, what we think we should do.
Right.
And that could be what was done before us or what we were told we needed to do. And there's not a lot of self-independent thinking. What do I really want to do?
Right.
And this is like this Science of Story. It is would you call it a structured version of journaling?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's helping you, an individual manifest what they want.
Right. And you could apply it to a character as well. Like if you were doing a fictional piece. But it's also just breaking down how a life works, how a hero operates and where they come from and what things light them up and what things don't. And we're all pretty darn complex with who we are. And the more we know about who we are, the more we understand that's why that makes me mad.
Okay.
Right? That's why that makes me happy.
Yes.
Now I've broken it down enough to really think about like, what are those themes of my life? What's my theme song? What's my favorite movie? Our favorite movie is often a direct reflection of who we see ourselves as. So what's your favorite movie?
I was about to beat you to the punch. Like, I can't wait to hear it.
Risky Business. Because
I'm sitting here.
Risky Business.
Oh, that's you. That's amazing. Okay, brace yourself. This is not going to surprise you at all, but it says a lot. You're probably going to want to really dive into this later after our first glass of wine. But so still Magnolias, duh.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But that's very interesting.
It is. I mean, it's my favorite movie. And it's funny because my roommate in college, this was back when we had the VH tapes, and I actually had a friend who owned a video store, and her family gifted, when you couldn't buy them. Like they could only rent them, and they bought a special copy and gave it to me like for my graduation gift from high school. And I was just, but my roommate in college was like, it never fails. I come in and you've fallen asleep right before I won't say it if you haven't seen the movie, because I highly recommend it's an amazing movie in my opinion, but towards the sad part of the movie.
Yeah,
it's
but
like, and then I'm sitting there sitting in the sadness and you're asleep on the couch. But I knew the movie backwards and forwards anyway.
Right. And then you identify with the main character or whichever character you're identified
all 6 of
with.
them.
Yeah, exactly. But that's important about you.
Yes.
Right? So you can if you just sat and watched that movie and then put yourself in each of the characters, you learn a lot about who you really are.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Like when I think about Risky Business, here's this kid who wants to, make his parents proud, but also wants to live his life his own way.
And have a good time.
Have a good time. He gets in trouble, but he gets out of it.
He gets out of it. He finds the solution.
Has a little love affair along the way.
Yeah. Lives his best life.
Lives his best life and gets into the Ivy League anyway.
Wait.
Not in the traditional way.
Right.
It's like, it says so much about me. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that because all I remember is Tom Cruise dancing around in his underwear.
Well, right.
Because
which does happen at my house also.
Does it? Okay, well, awesome. I love that. Well, that's a wonderful transition because that soundtrack was one of my favorite back in the day. But before we transition into Music Moment, which I know Adrea and I are super excited about, I just want to thank you again for your generosity and just thank you for the amazing human that you are, and you've just been an incredible friend to me for the last 20 years, and it's just great. We reconnect in these pivotal moments. It's
I love it.
It's special to not see each other for a really long time and be able to just come back, and it feels like we haven't missed a step. But I think your genius, the genius that you're so generous with, is going to leave its mark in so many people's lives, and I'm so grateful to Bill that you chose to share that with our Self Smarter family and listeners, and we're going to be better for it. And I want to let all of our listeners know that we are going to give away, and I'll have Jesse do all of this on social media, but we're going to give away Adrea's books and a little gift set from Adrea. We're going to give away 5 of those throughout when we publish this episode. So please stay tuned for that. And Jesse will come up with something creative way for you to be eligible for that. But let's transition over into our music moment. So I have a cute little story to tell. So Adrea and I, as if you listened to the previous episode, we became friends in a chance meeting in New York 20 years ago. And she was living in California at the time. And obviously, we were living in Dallas, and we had just built our home, which for those of you listen know that the home included a karaoke stage, not just stage, but a lounge. The entire upstairs is our karaoke lounge. And we had just unveiled the lounge when Adrea, early on in our friendship, came to visit us in Dallas. And so you were literally one of the first people to
bust a tune
on the karaoke stage. So that was our first, that was probably first when we realized that we had this affinity for music, and that's been a thread
definitely
in our friendship through the years. And so, we share music, we talk about it, and she knew I was going to Brandy Carlisle, so she had friends, and all of a sudden I was getting invites to after parties and all these things. So it's just a special connection that we share. We were both, I would consider us pretty obsessed with music. So talk to us about your love for music and how it shaped you, quite honestly.
Oh yeah, it is. That is the one place that was where I could escape to, and still is the place of like a religion to me. That's how I feel about music.
Yes.
It's like
same.
Yeah, it's my place.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I love it, and I love that music can take you travel. You can travel in time with music. I hadn't listened to REM Automatic for the People in years, and for some reason, I needed to hear it. So I pulled it up on Spotify. I since, of course, bought the album so I could hear it on vinyl.
Yeah.
But, and I texted a friend of mine who's also a huge music lover, and I was like, I am literally 22 again.
I'm back.
I am there. And she's like, stay as long as possible.
That's funny.
But it's just, it's amazing the way, we were listening to a playlist last night at your place, and the song, I was like on a journey every time a different song came on. It's so amazing that, what did you say, Trisha Yearwood's?
Oh, the song Remembers When.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. She wrote a song about literally what the essence of what you're describing right now. And it just talks about how you can hear a song and you're immediately, I think we used the word earlier, transported back to that moment. And sometimes that's a great moment, and sometimes it's a painful moment. And what I think is interesting about music, going through some challenges right now, is that I'm using music to put myself back into, the music represented something happy, and now the music, then it was unhappy.
Yeah.
And now that I'm walking through the healing process, I can go back and listen to that song back to the happy moment. I remember when it made me happy, and I'm okay that hearing that for a while kind of brought up some stuff.
Definitely.
So I needed to park that for a minute. But now, part of literally working with my therapist, she'll ask me, have you gone back and listened to that song? Because I had to tell her which songs were, to use the word that we've been using, is triggering. And she will ask me as part of my therapy, have you been able to go back and listen to whatever it may be? And I just find that I'm like, wow, music.
It's amazing.
It's not just entertainment.
Yeah.
It's far beyond that.
When I was a kid, my dad had this white van because he worked in it, and he had an 8-track tape player. Oh, yes. Which, Google it.
Google it. Google it.
And Doobie Brothers we had Doobie Brothers. And whenever I hear the Doobie Brothers, I am in that van. I am 5 years old, cruising the beaches with my dad. Like, it's just amazing. It's just, and for a while that was sad. That wasn't an easy thing to do,
Yeah,
but
of
course,
now, reflection of your father.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, and my dad's 8-track was Urban Cowboy. So.
Nice. Oh my God, that is a good one.
That's a good one.
We had that one too.
I mean, Urban Cowboy. Oh my gosh.
We had
masterpiece.
Stevie Wonder, that one that has the multicolored like circles.
I can see that.
Yeah. It's like a sunrise almost.
It's a one-word album.
As.
I can't remember.
I don't remember. It has As on it, which I love that tune, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, that was so great music. So right now, what music is just, and I know that's a hard question to ask you because I'm telling you, the stuff she sends me is all over the place. I'm like trying to figure out, and then I like to play the game. I like to play the game of what's Adrea feeling right now, and she'll be like cleaning the house, and she'll send me she just sent me the other day a new cover of 9 to 5. Well, it's not new, but they remixed it for something, and she's like, this is for house cleaning. I was like, awesome, because guess what I'm doing? I'm cleaning my apartment right now.
Sunday morning, who isn't? I'm really I made this mix of like all male singers that I have influenced me or I've really liked over time. And so I call it's the boys mix.
Okay, so you'll send me that playlist.
Yeah. But I do like to, you're not the only one, of course. You can imagine that a lot of people get Song of the Day from Adrea.
Yes, I can imagine.
Which is, it can be Lizzo. It can be.
So she's right now, you're hot on Lizzo.
Yeah. And it might be something old too, or it could be classical. Like it doesn't. So
you don't have a favorite genre?
No way.
You don't have
ever. There's no genre I won't listen to.
And I can attest to that because even this morning I was like, is that from a soundtrack? And she's like, no, it's a Hawaiian tune that I grew up to. I was like, wow, okay, we are,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I don't have as widespread of a genre interest that you do. But I love that about you because you introduce me to things that are different. And so for anybody out there can share any kind of music with me, I like to learn from other people.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, I think tonight we're going to venture and try to find some jazz. So that'll be fun.
Great. Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time listening to jazz, so I'll really enjoy that. But again, as we wrap, I just want to thank you again for coming and joining us. And I want to say to our listeners, again, we're going to give away some of these books, but you can find all of her work. It's Adrea Peters. We'll put links in the show notes to all of her work so that if you're interested in that. And again, we talked a lot about the science of story today because that's what I really wanted to share with our listeners, but she does have this fictional series called Truett, and there's 2 of them out. The third one, like she said, is coming out next year. So we'll share information on that as well. And with that, I just wish everyone a wonderful week, and we send you off with grateful hearts. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
As always, you can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Self Smarter Podcasts. You can also leave a rating or review if you enjoyed what you heard today. Not only does this mean so much to us, but it also helps other leaders and future leaders find our community. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us in becoming self-smarter. This podcast is produced by Snacks Media, and music is from a free platform. Well, that is until Brandy Carlisle reaches out to us to write the original score for our podcast. Friends, have a great rest of your day.